the Triarch Stalker and the Ghost Arc. But how good is quantum shielding?
Necrons!
Time for another Win with Necrons video. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, another Win with Necrons tactical video, and in today's video we're going to talk about the Ghost Arc and the Triarch Stalker. Before that though, if you would like to keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k, then please give me a sub and hit the bell button so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so we've been recently talking about the big tanks for Necrons, the Monolith, the Tesseract Vault, etc. But now we're going to have a look at the slightly smaller ones, the Ghost Arc and the Triarch Stalker. And one of the key things with these is that they have quantum shielding. But how good is quantum shielding? Well, first of all, let's have a look at the Ghost Arc and take a look at their stats. Okay, so when the Ghost Arc is at full strength, it can move 12 inches. It's got a weapon skill of 6 and a ballistic skill of 3+. Has strength 6 and toughness 6 with 14 wounds. It has 3 attacks with leadership 10 and a 4+ save. Its keyword factions are Necrons and Dynasty. Its keywords are vehicle, transport, fly and Ghost Arc. Okay, so as you can see from the stats there, pretty decent, probably with the exception maybe of the 4+ save. Having said that, we do have quantum shielding. So let's have a quick chat about quantum shielding. So what exactly does it do? Well, basically it protects us from weapons that do multiple damage once they get through your armour. So we're talking about las cannons, multi-melters, anything that does D6 damage, maybe D3, although it's not quite so good against that. When your enemy hits you with a wound, which is multiple damage, this is where quantum shielding really comes into its own. So after you've failed the save and the wound comes in, your opponent rolls for the damage result. Let's just say, for example, it gets a 4. Then what you do is you roll a dice, and if you get less than the damage result, you totally ignore the damage. You don't even take one single wound. And this is really, really good against any weapons that does multiple damage. Now, it does mean that you've got no protection against weapons that don't do multiple damage, or even those weapons that do maybe a smaller amount of damage, maybe a 2 or a 3 damage. There's much more less chance of you saving them. So it does make you a little bit vulnerable to those, and indeed, once your enemy knows this, then it can become a problem. If you get hit with heavy bolters or auto cannons, you know, the stuff which is going to get through your armour, not really affect your quantum shielding, and also reduce your armour save. 4+ armour save isn't that great, -1 and 5+ save, you know, it's not that great. But you do have a reasonable amount of wounds, so 14 wounds. It does help it survive a little bit more. Now, in my experience, the way to play a unit, any unit actually, with quantum shielding is to either take an army with full quantum shielding, in other words, don't have a monolith there, with all your Ghost Arc. So what will happen is your enemy will target priority, their las cannons, those multiple damage shots, will all go into your monolith, and all of the medium weapons which don't do multiple damage will go into your Ghost Arcs and your Triarch Stalkers, etc. So ideally you want to have either all quantum shielding vehicles or all not quantum shielding vehicles. I wouldn't go with a mixture, because that really puts you at a disadvantage and puts your enemy at an advantage. Now, points wise, this tank is 170 points, which is the same price as a unit of Immortals. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, it's pretty overpriced, especially the fact that it's not open topped, which we will talk about in a minute. However, it does have some great rules for this tank, which you don't get with Immortals for the same price, and I think it does make it very, very usable in your army. So let's have a quick look at the gun first, and then we'll have a look at the rules. So the gun is a Flayer array. It's got 2. Each array has 5 shots, and they're basically Gore's Flayers, just the same as on Warrior. So you can rapid fire, AP -1, and does 1 damage. Reasonable guns. It is a massive shame that Warriors inside the tank cannot shoot out of it with the open top, and I can see why people aren't happy with that. But yeah, let's have a look at what you can do with the tank. So the tank still can take 10 warriors if you want to. It also can take some characters with the infantry special rule. Now it only has a capacity of 10 and warriors are in units of 10 minimum. So you can't put warriors and a character into the Ghost Ark unless you have a warrior unit which maybe has taken some casualties and then you can put them in. Now one advantage of having warriors inside the tank that aren't at full strength is that you can still do reanimation protocol even though you're in the tank and not on the battlefield. Now you can't go beyond your maximum strength, so the normal restrictions apply. Now of course if you say have just 7 warriors in there, maybe you had 10 on the table, they took 3 casualties, you've got into the Ghost Ark, there's a cryptic in there as well. You can only reanimate up to 9 warriors because of the space inside the tank. However, it's a great feature to be able to have, especially if you have a unit of warriors which maybe have got a little bit vulnerable, you don't want to lose them, you can just pop them into the Ghost Ark and they're protected. There are of course other benefits to this as well, and that comes from the fact that the tank can move pretty fast. So we're looking at 12 inches. Now that's a decent movement, and it does mean that you can put 10 warriors into this Ghost Ark and you can just charge forward turn 1 and 2, get to those objectives and then bow out to the warriors to sit on the objectives, and in the meantime the Ghost Ark can be a blocker and indeed it can go out and do additional damage itself, because those guns are actually pretty good. They're a lot better than they were with the new shooting rules. In the old days one player had to shoot one angle, the other one the other angle. Now you can just shoot all of those guns at one target. That means if you can get within rapid fire range of a target, regardless of what side of the tank they're on, you've got a reasonable amount of shots there. So you've got 20 shots, minus 1 AP remember. So they're actually pretty good once they're in close vicinity. Now because it's got the fly special rule, you don't have to worry too much about being assaulted. Of course you've got to watch out for certain weapons, it is going to take you out quite easily. But yeah, don't be afraid to get this tank up close and personal and also to assault with it yourself, especially if your enemy doesn't have the fly special rule themselves. So it has some great options for pushing the tank forward, but also it's got some great options for holding it back, and that of course is the repair barge feature. So the way the repair barge works is if you're within 3 inches of a unit of warriors which are on the battlefield, you're able to re-roll their reanimation protocol at the end of your movement phase. Now this is in addition to being able to do the reanimation protocols on your models inside the tank. So you can do those, and then you can do your normal RPs on your warriors, and then at the end of the movement phase you can redo the RP. Now you're not able to do this if you've already used a resurrection orb. Fair enough. Do we take resurrection orbs? We'll talk about that maybe in the future. But of course if you have your cryptic there, +1 to your RP, that means you're getting a 4+, and then you're going to get another 4+. So very, very useful. Of course if you're at the backfield you're not going to be able to shoot the guns on the Ghost Ark. And of course if you don't have warriors on the table you're not going to be able to benefit from this rule. And I think this is where you need to decide whether you want the Ghost Ark in your army. It's down to the units that you have in your army. Unlike some units which you could say, well yeah, I'm going to have that unit in every single army that I take regardless of the units. I think the Ghost Ark is very situational depending on the play style that you're going to do and the amount of units that you're going to have on the table, and also the unit type. So if you're going to have all of your troops immortals, there's absolutely no point in having a Ghost Ark on the table. Now one other little trick here, especially if you're going to play it defensively, i.e. have it next to your warriors at the backfield, is to take a Canaptic Spider and put that Fabricator Claw on him, so he can stay behind the Ghost Ark and actually repair the Ghost Ark, and then the Ghost Ark can obviously repair your warriors. This makes this little blob very powerful, and on top of all that it has living metal, so it's going to automatically gain 1 wound back every turn as well. So this unit played in this way can be really, really durable for your backfield flanks. Just be mindful that if it does die, it does explode. So if you have too many units too close and a 6 is rolled for the explosion, it can be pretty nasty. So we talked about earlier that you could put a character inside this tank, which sounds really good and really useful, but of course once in there it can't use its aura abilities, which is why we're taking our characters anyway. So it's just something to bear in mind. It is something that you can do, and indeed if for example you find yourself in a situation where maybe your opponent has a lot of snipers, you could arguably put this guy into the tank just to protect him, especially if one of the key missions is Slay the Warlord. So if you're playing the only war mission, which is basically just objectives, and a D3 amount of victory points for killing the slain warlord is very warlord based. That might be a good reason to pop him into the tank, but other than that I can't see any real good reason for putting the character in the tank, apart from if you just really want to protect that character. So that's the Ghost Ark. I think the key thing here is you have various ways to play it. You can either play it defensively, especially if you're going warrior blob orientated. It can be very, very useful in the backfield, arguably two of them even more useful. You can play it in an attacking way, and I think this is really, really useful if you're playing Maelstrom objectives, where you can have these warriors loaded up in the Ghost Arks and you can push forward. Of course you can't get the warriors out that turn, you've got to wait a turn, but what you can do on the next turn is you can bow those warriors out onto the objectives, and the Ghost Arks move 12 inches, remember, so then the Ghost Arks can move off onto other objectives. So arguably you can get on to 4 objectives quite quickly with 2 Ghost Arks. Pretty useful. Okay, so let's have a look now at the Triarch Stalker. Right, the Triarch Stalker, I have to say my most favourite model in the whole of the Necron Index, but not in rules, just in looks. I don't really like the model in the way it looks, but the rules are actually really good. So let's start off by looking at the stats first. Okay, so the Triarch Stalker at full strength moves 10 inches. It's got a weapon skill of 3+ and a ballistic skill of 3+, strength 7 with toughness 6, 10 wounds with 3 attacks, leadership 10 and a 3+ save. Its faction keywords are Necrons, and its other keywords are vehicles and Triarch Stalker. Okay, so that's the stats. Before we look at the rules, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Pete from Mini Warzone for my Necrons clip at the beginning of the video. Thank you, Pete. If you haven't seen Pete's channel, please check him out. There's a link to it just there. Go and check him out, give him a sub. Great guy. Okay, so let's have a look at this model. Okay, so the first thing to note over the Ghost Ark, not that we're really comparing them, but the thing that really stands out is that it has a 3+ save on the Triarch Stalker, which makes a huge difference. So really, really nice to see a 3+ save on this particular model. And now it comes equipped with a heat ray, and there are a few other options. Now base, we're looking at 117 points. The heat ray is about 54 points. Now we can make it cheaper by taking different guns, so let's have a look at the guns and maybe work out which ones are the best ones, or at least how we're going to use each gun. Okay, so first of all the heat ray, and this shoots in 2 profiles. One is dispersed, which is 8 inches, heavy D6, strength 5, -1 AP with 1 damage. It automatically hits your enemy. The second one is focused, which is 24 inches, heavy 2, strength 8, -4 AP and does D6 damage. So when you're shooting this gun as a focus gun and you're half range, i.e. 12 inches away, you get to roll 2 D6 for the damage dice and disregard the lowest number, so pretty useful. So you can see there the heat ray is actually pretty decent. It's almost like having a melter gun and a flamer equipped on the model, so at medium range 24 inches it's a very sound weapon to take. But is it the best weapon? Let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so the next one is a particle shredder, which is 24 inches. This weapon is a heavy 6, strength 7, -1 AP and does D3 damage. Now my Triarch Stalker is magnetised with all 3 weapon options. If you want to find out how to magnetise your model, I'll put a link just in the top right hand corner there for you to check out. So that's the particle shredder. It's a little bit cheaper in points than the heat ray. Personally I think it sits in a sort of awkward place with that strength 7. So against infantry, or at least most infantry, you're only going to be wounding on 3s. And then if you go for vehicles, you're probably only going to be wounding on 4s or 5s, depending on the toughness of the vehicle. It's got a reasonable amount of shots. It is a bit cheaper. Personally, out of the 3 options, I think it's my least favourite. But let's have a look at the next option. The twin heavy Gore's cannon is 36 inches, heavy 2, strength 9, -4 AP and does D6 damage. So that's the heavy Gore's cannon. Now the damage output in terms of shots is obviously just 2, but what 2 shots they are. Great shots. Strength 9, -4 AP, D6 damage. Really, really useful. I think this is my most favourite option, primarily because I think our long range guns in the Necron armies is very limited. However, if you are shooting at long range targets, it could mean that you're not going to be able to take a full advantage of the other special rule that it has on there, which we're going to talk about in a second. But first of all, let's have a look at its melee stats. Okay, so the Triarch Stalker actually isn't that bad in close combat. It's got 3 attacks and it's strength 7. Also, it hits on 3s, which is pretty nice, and it's -1 AP and does D3 damage. So don't rule this guy out to actually putting him in close combat. However, it doesn't have the fly special rule, so make sure you pick your targets wisely. Another thing to note here with this unit is it doesn't have any other keywords apart from Necrons.
Necrons!
So a little bit like the Praetorians, we're unable to use some of the special rules that's in the army, so just be mindful of that. However, it does have quantum shielding, which we've talked about obviously in the Ghost Ark. Exactly the same rules for this guy. Really, really useful. Just be aware when you're positioning your tank to watch out for the heavy bolters and all those guns which are medium strength and do 1 or 2 damage. Try and stay out of range, hide behind a building of them. Don't worry too much about being in range of las cannons and multi-melters and all of those weapons that do multiple damage. Yes, they can still hurt you, especially if your enemy rolls low on the damage table. They may even use up a command point to roll low. I doubt it. But the point is that it does really, really help against those multiple damage weapons. So lastly, the special rule, the targeting relay. So the way this special rule works is once the Triarch Stalker has shot a unit, any other friendly Necron unit that shoots that unit can re-roll the ones to hit. Now this is regardless of whether your Triarch Stalker has killed anything. It doesn't even have to hit, it just has to target the unit. Now this is very powerful, and this is where I was talking about using the heavy Gore's cannon to shoot targets which may be out of range of the rest of your army. It means that you can't take advantage of this special rule unless you have other units that can shoot to that distance. So that's possibly where the heat ray could be the better weapon, because the heat ray puts out a lot of power, a lot of shots, and what it doesn't kill, the rest of your army can focus fire down that unit, re-rolling the ones, which is really, really awesome. Now layer in the fact that one of those units probably will have Thy Will Be Done, helping that to shoot even more, and you could potentially put your enemy in a lot of danger if they start advancing within 24 inches of your army. So it is a great, great weapon. So which gun you take is, I think, down to a personal choice. I think the heavy Gore's cannon is great. I do like having that long distance. It could be very useful for the beginning of the game, maybe to target a particular unit. Remember, it does D6 damage and it's a heavy 2. So you could potentially get 2 shots through and do a reasonable amount of damage. But yeah, like I said, the heat ray is definitely a great option, and also of course it has the built-in flamer, which can make it quite a nice anti-assault deterrent for your enemy if they want to come in and assault you. So both weapons are very sound. Personally, I'd probably forget the particle shredder, but that's just my personal preference. Okay, let me know what you think. How are you getting on with the Triarch Stalker? What weapons are you taking? What weapons do you think are the best? Let's get some discussions going in the comments box below. We always love to see those and learn from each other. Right, that's it for me. Beam me up.